I thought my depressed dog just needed rest, until a vet's warning led me to check my teenager's browser history. What I found forced me to choose between protecting my son or protecting everyone around him. I'm going to tell this straight. There's no clever way to dress it up. If you've got pets you love like people, or kids you'd take a bullet for, you'll probably hear the bones creak under this one. I wish I could say it's a story about a misunderstanding that got fixed with a good night's sleep. It isn't. I'm Mark. I used to think my house was a safe ecosystem I'd engineered, a dog who slept at my feet, a kid who threw his backpack where I asked, a wife who left post-it notes on the coffee maker. I believed a checklist could keep chaos out. Then, one late winter, small things started coming loose in ways that didn't make sense. It was Duke first. He's a mutt with old soul eyes and a goofy underbite. We adopted him when my son, Tyler, was 9. Duke's the kind of dog who greets you like you've returned from war even if you stepped outside to take the trash. That month he stopped doing that. He started hiding under the laundry table when I came home, flinching at sounds he'd ignored his whole life. If I reached to scratch his chest, the spot that turns his back leg into a drum, he'd freeze, then scoot away on his belly like the floor had sharp edges. I figured, maybe he's sore, maybe it's his hips. He's not a puppy anymore. I booked a vet appointment. The tech weighed him and said he'd lost 3 pounds since his last check. The vet palpated, checked joints, listened to his heart. Then she went very quiet in that professional way I've learned to dread. I want to run a couple of tests, she said. And I want to ask some delicate questions. Has Duke been handled roughly? Startled? Has anyone new been in your home? Roughly? I said. No. It's just us. He's family. She nodded, not arguing. Sometimes animals tell us a story before the people do. She kept her voice low, gentle. I'm not accusing anyone. But based on what I'm seeing, I have to raise the possibility that he's experienced harm. If this is a household issue, we can help. If it's something else, we can help with that too. I signed the forms with hands that didn't feel like mine. In the car, Duke put his head on my knee and sighed, that long dog sigh that sounds like a person giving up an argument they can't win. That night I watched the house like a documentary. My wife, Jenna, loaded the dishwasher and asked if we were out of cumin. Tyler holed up in his room, headset on, the muffled cadence of game chat leaking under his door. I carried laundry and tried to act like I wasn't searching for a thing I shouldn't have to search for in my own home. I told myself the vet was being cautious. I told myself the problem had a benign answer I just hadn't thought of yet. I told myself Duke would perk up in 2 days, 3 max. The next afternoon I came home early. Jenna was at a late shift. Tyler's door was cracked. Duke's nails clicked on the hardwood, then stopped. I heard something I will always hear if a room goes quiet enough, a sharp whisper, my son's voice, irritated and too loud for a whisper. Stop it. Stop. Just hold still. The bottom dropped out of the day. I opened the door. Tyler spun in his chair, knocking a tangle of cables to the floor. Duke was pressed tight into the corner between the desk and the wall, eyes wide, not blinking. What are you doing? I asked. It came out calm and wrong, like a recorded message. Nothing, Tyler said. He laughed, too big. He just keeps getting in my way. Move, I said. He did. Duke scuttled to me like the floor was on fire. I took a breath I thought would save me and said the only thing I could think of, headphones off. Phone on the desk. Now. He hovered, then put them down. I picked up his phone. I didn't look at his face because if I did, I was afraid I'd back down. What's your passcode? Seriously? His laugh went higher. This is a violation. What's your passcode? He told me. I sat on the edge of his bed and opened his browser. History. It took 5 seconds to go from denial to nausea. Search strings I can't write here without feeling sick, forums that should not exist, videos that should not exist. I scrolled and felt my hands go cold. My kid. My boy who used to fall asleep on my chest during movie nights. My boy who cried when he dropped an ice cream at 5 and I bought him another because I believe small kindnesses can fix big things. My boy had been looking at things that turned my stomach inside out. I put the phone face down. Tyler. Did you hurt Duke? He stared at me like I'd mispronounced his name. What? No. Are you insane? I didn't say the vet's words. I didn't say the searches. I said the thing that might cut through the performance. This is a yes/no question. Because if the answer is yes, we get help. If the answer is no, we still get help. But I need the truth. He crossed his arms. I didn't touch him. I just looked at stuff. Everyone looks. Not everyone looks, I said. And looking is already not okay. He rolled his eyes. You're so dramatic. The part of me that wanted to scream sat down. The part of me that knows decisions get worse when voices get loud took over. I'm calling Jenna, I said. And I'm calling a therapist. We're getting you evaluated. Today. You can't make me, he said. I can, I said. Because I'm your father. Because it's my job to help you not become a person who harms smaller things to feel big. Jenna came home fast, still in her work shoes, and the argument we had will never fit in any room I can describe. She wanted proof. I had a vet's concern and a browser full of horror and a dog who flinched when my son stood too fast. She said I was overreacting. I said I hoped I was. She said teenage brains are weird and the internet is worse. I said exactly, so we act before weird becomes damage. We got an emergency appointment with a counselor whose calendar usually stays full. She did an intake with gentleness that made me want to cry and triage that made me trust her. She didn't let Tyler play dumb. She didn't let me turn the session into a cross-examination. She explained compulsion without excusing it. Access changes brains, she said. So do choices. We can work on both. We locked down the house like a fortress. Router controls. New passwords. Devices out in the open. Tyler got a flip phone that makes calls, sends texts, and cannot escort you to the worst parts of the world. He hated me like I was a warden. I took it. I would take 1,000 of that look to keep a single creature safe. 2 weeks later, I came home to find Duke under the bed, not moving. He didn't come out when I shook the treat can. He didn't come when I sat on the floor and whispered his name the way you do when your voice is the only thing left in a room that understands how to love a being who won't come out. Tyler was in the kitchen, eating cereal straight from the box. "Where's Duke?" I asked. He shrugged. "Hiding. Like always." "Where were you an hour ago?" "At Jacob's." "Call Jacob." He called. His face didn't move. He says yeah. I looked at the camera in the living room, silent, dumb, useless, pointed at the wrong doorway. I sat on the carpet and waited for Duke to crawl to me. He did, shaking so hard his fur vibrated. I felt something in me harden into a resolve I have learned the shape of only once, when I drove to the ER behind an ambulance carrying Jenna after a car clipped her bike. The clarity of decision. The lack of oxygen. The truth that does not bend. I moved out of denial and into logistics. Tyler's therapy became not optional. We found a specialist who understands compulsive behavior and harm prevention. Sessions twice a week. Family counseling. Safety planning that felt like building a fence on a cliff we lived on. Jenna cried and called me authoritarian. I cried and called the vet and asked if we were too late. "You're not too late to be different," the vet said. "For the dog and for your son." If this were a movie, we'd get a montage of progress. In real life, it was messy. 3 good weeks. 1 awful. 2 steps forward. A stumble that scraped everybody's knees. Tyler told me he hated me 3 different ways and then hugged Duke so hard the dog whined and I had to say, gentle, in a voice that tried not to be a shout. He wrote an apology letter he didn't want to write. He read a page of it out loud in therapy and dissolved halfway through. The counselor didn't rescue him. She said, "Sit with the part of you that did harm. Don't glamorize it, don't minimize it. Name it." We created a house contract and put it on the fridge. Devices only in the living room. No closed doors with animals. Check-ins before and after school. If temptation rises, say it, don't act it. If you break a rule, you don't negotiate, you accept the consequence and we adjust the plan. We signed it, all 3 of us. I added a line at the bottom that felt like air in a suffocating room. We protect beings who can't protect themselves. Always. I wrote Duke's name next to mine. Jenna and I drifted into separate camps we didn't want but couldn't avoid. She saw our son as salvageable first, our dog as collateral maybe. I saw our dog as the line we would not let our son cross again. Couples therapists have phrases for this. I only had the feeling of our bed growing a seam and neither of us crossing it at night. Months passed. Tyler did better enough that my shoulders dropped half an inch. Then I found a hidden app on an old tablet he'd stashed in the garage. You know that cold washing machine spin your stomach does when your body realizes before your brain that you're back where you swore you wouldn't be? That. I didn't make a speech. I printed the contract. I circled the part about secrets. We went back to 3 sessions a week. I bought a lock for the garage cabinet and installed it at midnight because I couldn't stand the idea of the sun watching me proof my house against my own kid. When Tyler turned 16, I told him the thing it broke me to say. "You won't be alone with Duke again," I said. "Not for a minute. Not because I want to punish you. Because it's my job to keep everyone in this house safe, including you, from yourself." He stared at me like I had spoken another language. "You're never going to let this go." "I'm never going to pretend it didn't happen," I said. "That's different." He slammed his door. The picture frames in the hall rattled. I went outside and sat on the back steps with Duke, who put his head on my shoe and thumped his tail once, as if to say, "This is our job." Jenna grew quiet in a way that sounded like wind moving through a room with no windows. She said I was turning the house into a prison. I said I was trying to keep it from being a crime scene. She said I made everything about rules. I said rules are how we love when love isn't enough. We separated a year later. Not because of a single fight. Because the accumulation of quiet becomes a wall. She took an apartment 10 minutes away. Tyler split time. We divided furniture like adults and memories like thieves. Duke stayed with me because the vet said stability would lengthen his life and I had built my days around exactly that. People ask where the authorities were in all this. They were at my kitchen table in pamphlets and on the phone when I asked what the law allows and in the therapist's office when we crafted a plan that kept everybody breathing. They told me something I didn't know. You can love a child fiercely and still impose non-negotiable safety, and it's not betrayal, it's parenting. They told me another thing I hated. You can't make someone recover on your schedule. You can only make the house safe while they learn. Tyler graduated. He moved into a dorm 2 towns over. We hugged in a parking lot and I felt all my contradictions line up like bad choir. I am proud of you. I am scared of you. I am hopeful for you. I am done letting hope be an excuse for not protecting the small. I gave him a key to my new place that works 4 days a week and told him we would build trust by keeping promises boring. He cried. I cried. No movie music played. Real life has a quieter soundtrack. Duke got old like a gentleman, cloudy eyes, slower stares, naps that took up the afternoon. Sometimes he'd startle at doors again and I'd sit on the floor and talk about nothing until his breathing matched mine. He died on a Sunday with his head in my lap and my hand on the spot that used to turn his back leg into a drum. The vet came to the house. The light through the blinds made stripes on his fur. I told him he was a good dog, the best, the bravest. After, I sat on the kitchen floor and cried into a dish towel because paper tissues can't hold what grief does when it finally has enough room. I didn't get another dog right away. I couldn't. The house sounded wrong for a while. I walked in and listened for claws that weren't there, bowls that didn't clink, a sigh that didn't come. Months later, I saw a shelter posting for a tripod with ridiculous ears and a face like she'd been assembled out of parts the factory had left over. I met her and she leaned into my shin like she knew I needed someone stubborn. I named her Juniper because she's tough and prickly and soft where it matters. I wrote a new contract for the fridge even though it felt silly. We protect beings who can't protect themselves. Always. I signed it. Just me, this time. It still counts. Tyler and I are. Not a Hallmark ending. We talk. He sends me pictures of meals he actually cooked. He tells me when he's struggling. He goes to meetings he calls by their initials. He apologized once in a parking lot with no audience, no cameras, no witnesses but a bored pigeon. He didn't say the magic words that make the past change shape. He said, I want to be better than what I was. That's not a ribbon. It's a path. I can live with a path. Jenna remarried a man who likes boats and better weather. We're polite at graduations. We talk like people who tried, because we did. We will never agree about the year the house split. That's okay. We don't have to. We just have to keep the small safe and let the big learn at a speed that doesn't kill anyone. If you're waiting for me to tell you this made me wise, I won't. It made me specific. It taught me the exact weight of the word non-negotiable. It taught me paperwork is love in a world that runs on denial. It taught me you can love your kid without pretending away the harm they've done. You can love your dog without turning him into a symbol of your goodness. You can be the person who gets low on the kitchen floor and stays while the scared thing crawls out. You can be the person who locks cabinets and changes passwords and endures being hated because safety is louder than approval. Duke isn't here, but the house remembers him. Juniper sleeps in the same sun patch he used to claim like a landowner. Sometimes I catch myself reaching to scratch a chest that isn't his and I feel that ache hit, then pass like a train you can time your day around. I make coffee. I put post-its on the maker for no one but me. I feed the dog. I check the locks not because I'm afraid, but because this is how I love now, with keys, with lists, with contracts and soft voices and a willingness to sit on a floor until the breathing evens out. If you came here for a tidy moral, I don't have one. I have a sentence I taped to my fridge under that contract. We don't get to choose all our storms, only how we build the house. I built mine with doors that close and open on purpose. I keep the small safe. I tell the truth even when it makes the room colder. And when the day gets loud, I call my dog by her silly name and listen for the thump of a tail that says, in a language older than any apology, we're okay. Keep going.